Welcome to Rick's Corner. I have a friend of mine today named Rich Piana, who I've known for many, many, many years. He competed in bodybuilding, won Mr. California, overall Mr. California. Yeah. But the guy could win the Olympia as far as I'm concerned. I mean, take a look at him. He's all beef, and there's no question about it. But Rich and I have done a few commercials together. He's done, God, how many national commercials have you had?
38, all principal.
38 national commercials. You've seen them. The one we did together was Dr. Pepper as wrestlers.
Diet Dr. Pepper.
Diet Dr. Pepper, excuse me. Yeah, we're on diets, bodybuilding diets. But you've been training since how old?
13.
You've been training since you were 13?
Yeah, and both my parents competed.
And you're 19 now?
19 and a half.
Okay. How old are you?
36.
All right. Are you?
No.
No. It doesn't really matter how old you are because I'm 101. It doesn't really matter. I'm as old as Jack LaLanne. In fact, I'm taking over where he left off. So your parents competed in bodybuilding?
Yeah, both of them. I was raised since a little kid. I was at the shows rooting them and watching them train. So I was kind of like, you know,
oh my God,
a bodybuilder.
That's interesting. That's really interesting because you don't hear that very often. Yeah. So your interest started when you were just a kid.
Yeah.
And were you consistent with your training then?
Yes, I was actually. I started kind of playing around at 11 because I was in the Gold's Gym babysitting room. You know, I figured it was more fun working out than. And then at 13, I was hitting it every day, and by 16, I was on stage.
My God, that's really, really a young career. Did you know a lot about diet at that time?
No idea.
You just ate everything.
Yeah, actually, I had the wrong concept. I was eating healthy, so I was eating salads and bean sprout sandwiches. So I had the whole concept wrong. Wasn't putting any weight on. And then when I was about 17, 18, I started to realize that it's a calorie game at that age.
Yeah, but the calories now, for example, you have a fine line. You're gonna go so many calories, but if you go beyond those calories, you're gonna get fat, right?
Not for a 17-year-old. At least not for me as a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
I couldn't eat enough. I ate as much as I could, constantly.
Now?
Now it's a huge issue. Now I'm eating salads and bean sprout sandwiches.
How many days a week? Back then when you were training what, 4 or 5 days a week, or 6 or 3 or what?
I'm just an avid overtrainer. I train 7 days a week. I always have.
Even at that young age?
Yeah, I do it because I enjoy it. It's more. I look at it as something. It just makes me feel good about myself.
No,
and I enjoy doing it. And,
no joint pain?
No, I don't train heavy.
No.
I can train heavy, but I usually keep my reps higher, and try to do heavier weight, higher reps.
But you still get the size out of the lighter weight.
I do. I believe I get a lot more from the pump than I do from actually the heavy weights.
That brings to a question. Okay.
Uh-oh.
I had this talk with Boyer Co. last week.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to have this talk tomorrow with Ed Giuliani because we're doing an interview tomorrow. When you get older and you've been training all those years, do you still get the same pump that you did at 20?
I don't know. That's
Depends on what you're on.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was appropriate conversation.
That's appropriate. Yeah, that's appropriate conversation because
yes. If I'm taking the right supplements, yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do, definitely. Higher reps, you just get an insane pump, insane burn. Yeah. And I just get a lot more from it, I feel.
But do you get the size from the high reps?
I feel that I do. I mean, I'm still, going fairly heavy as I can for just a higher amount of reps.
I always got a good pump when I was younger, and then I got a lot of injuries from wrestling. And of course, having a shoulder bad, then the circulation of the arm isn't the same. Having knees bad, my pump to my quads when I tore those is not the same. But even when I work arms nowadays, and I dropped 23 pounds in the past 6 months, and that's a noticeable weight difference. And I noticed that my strength isn't what it was, obviously, because you're not as heavy. And I also don't get the same pump I did back then, because they had me on a diuretic for blood pressure, so there's not enough water in my system.
For sure, that's going to make a difference.
It does, doesn't it?
For sure, yeah.
It drains your water out.
Yeah, for sure. Electrolytes are off, everything, yeah, definitely.
I'm quitting that stuff. I don't care if my blood pressure goes through the roof. I got to have that pump, man.
I mean, your face is lean, but no pump.
And handsome, too, I might add. Lean and mean and handsome. Okay, so now you're training 7 days a week. How much time do you spend on each session? Less than an hour?
Hour and a half.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, you must have a lot of free time.
Yeah, I do. No, I've always overtrained, and I know that. I'm aware of that. But, just from my experience, I kind of don't feel like you can overtrain. Kind of like the old school barbarian thought. You're either under eating or under sleeping. There's overtraining, and I'm kind of like the old school. You see these guys train 4, 5, 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
You're you're very aware of that.
I think
you were there in those days. I wasn't there.
My memory kind of evades me at the moment. But we also took naps. You take naps?
Yeah, I do take naps, actually.
Yeah, it does help.
I take a nap every day.
It does
but,
help.
Yeah, I totally believe in that. I mean, I totally believe. I mean, I know a lot of people that were in the system.
Yeah.
And they came out huge. This is back when they had weights.
Right.
And I would talk to them, and they did chest and arms every day. Every day, chest and arms. And now reading the books and the magazines, that's overtraining. You're going to shrink. Mm-hmm. These guys come out with 22-inch arms with no gear.
Yeah, I get that.
I know guys that are taking, all kinds of stuff and don't have 22-inch arms.
Yeah.
So
the guys that are taking that are young guys who don't know how to train, they eat crap, and they think that the drugs are going to make the difference.
Yeah.
And they don't.
Yeah.
It's a combination of everything.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
And you guys always write to me and say, well, what should I take? And should I take tests? Should I take this? Get in touch with your training first and your diet and your rest, and then see where it goes from there if you're going to add anything to it, because that's the whole key to the whole deal.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I go in for an hour nowadays, and I just separate my body parts like I always have. Having injuries from wrestling has taken its toll, and having the lesser of the water weight on me, I guess maybe that's a factor. But I enjoy training too. I can go every day, you know, and I don't think that I'm overtraining. I think that I'm under eating because I'm getting under 2,000 calories a day, which is not enough food.
Yeah.
But it's got to be the right calories. So I take a protein drink, or I take a protein drink, then I have a meal and I have another protein drink. And I almost think, do you take protein drinks?
I do. I'm at a point now where I'm trying to stay as lean as I can, and I'm trying not to put size on. So for me, it's really hard. My body wants to be big.
Yeah, I can see
that. I don't want to be. I want to be like 250 and be lean, and my body doesn't want to do it. So I eat zero carbs. I do cardio, and I try to do the opposite, and my body just doesn't want to come down. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Spend all those years trying to come up, and then you want to come down. It's like whatever you're trying to do, your body fights you.
Yeah, but I've seen you come up more in the past year.
Yeah, well, I was gonna like a moron. I was gonna compete again, after and I just can't get out of my system. But yeah, I was up to 298
I know.
7 weeks ago.
Yeah,
and I couldn't breathe. So now I'm back down in the 70s, and I feel a lot better.
Are you breathing now?
I'm breathing pretty good.
All right, let's talk about a couple of other things here, because you're on a new venture. And you're always on a new venture. You've got things going all the time. It's not just bodybuilding and working out. Your brain works, and you think about stuff. You've got a new company, and you're starting a new website, which I'm helping you with, and you got a new shirt. And let's talk about what this is.
It's basically One Day You May.
Just hold that down a little bit. Yeah. One day you may. One day you may, and one day you may not. But one day you may, and he's in charge of that. Okay.
It's basically open to everyone. It's a positive statement. Whether you're a wrestler, a bodybuilder, a fighter. Whatever it is that your sport is or what you're into, it's just kind of a positive. One day you may, kind of you got to put the work in, never give up.
Right.
Whatever your dreams are, fulfill them.
So it's going to be a website. You're going to have T-shirts for sale. You're going to have almost like a social network at some point where people can click on and have their own space, have their pictures. They can send them pictures of wearing stuff. Have their bio where they can communicate with each other. Yep. You're going to have like a car club emblems.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff.
All kinds of stuff. And we're working on the site now, which will be up pretty soon, hopefully. It'll be onedayyoumay.com. And I will put that on this interview so you know how to get to it and watch for it. It'll be coming soon. Where do you see that going? I
have had other ventures. I had a T-shirt line in Flick Plain that a lot of people are aware of. And it was kind of, came out about the time Tap Out came out, and I put one advertisement out, and people bought the shirts up like crazy, but I didn't continue marketing and advertising because that's what I'm known for, not continuing my ventures. So anyway, I have good ideas.
Why is that, Rich? You just get tired, don't you?
Because I'm too busy eating and sleeping and trying to work out, I guess.
And returning phone calls and texts is kind of tough.
That's really tough.
I got you over here. Okay. That can be a problem, because when you do start something, you have to continue it. It's just like your training, and your training is your home base. That's your foundation of your life, your bodybuilding and your diet and all that. And you take that, and if that's what you do every day, you put that into your work, and you do that every day, and you just continue everything grows. Yeah. So you're going to grow, your business is going to grow. I'm going to help you with this and see how far you can go with that. And don't stop halfway in the middle and leave me sitting here by myself.
No, I got a partner this time. Yeah. He's a good friend of mine. Yeah. He's straight hustles. Good. And he's going to be doing the legwork, and we're going to be doing it together. So it's going to be a good thing. Everything's looking good. So
okay. Well, you guys heard it. Rich Piana. Watch for him. You can Google him. He's got pictures all over the internet. OneDayYouMay.com's coming up, and I'm really glad that he came by today to do this interview. It's going to go out to you, and you have a good look at it. And stay tuned for the next Rick's Corner, because I'm bringing you Ed Giuliani again starting tomorrow. I know you guys like him. All right? Until then, goodbye.